Hey guys, what's up? It is 12-inch PvPenis, and this is going to be the first League of Legends video we make for this channel. If you guys have been watching me previously, you know that I make a lot of mobile game content, and I haven't done anything for League of Legends. I used to stream it a lot, and I thought that I'd go ahead and make a guide. I'd like to make more League of Legends content, and if it does well, I'll consider streaming it again, especially on my road back to Masters. So if you guys don't know who I am, I used to be a Pantheon one trick. I used to be the number one Panth NA, then I was the number one Urgot NA, and then I was the number one Trundle NA. Currently, I'm not the number one anything NA, however, I am Diamond 2, trying to make my way back to Masters. I am what could be called a mechanically inept player. I have been told I have boomer mechanics and have no idea how to play. I basically made a name for myself in high elo around Season 8, for being an absolutely terrible player that maintained a decent elo. That's the first and only season I hit Masters. I ended up not playing as hard after that because school, and then I got into mobile gaming, of course. So this is the guide of how somebody with mobile gamer mechanics can hit high elo, even Masters, Grandmasters, you know. Following the steps in here will probably undoubtedly get you Diamond. I've called this a quick guide how to climb quickly, and quickly is relative. In a couple months, you can definitely climb harder than you ever have before, but it is important to note that this game will take over your life. Your view of this game as fun or not fun, this is work, right? You have to work to become better at something you're not talented at. You can't play all the cool new champions that are fun and mechanically difficult if you suck at the game. So, for those of you playing Yasuo and stuck in gold, better sit down and strap in. So this is going to be a guide specifically for top lane. There's a lot of advice in here that's going to go all around, but once I get into the gameplay mechanics themselves, the gameplay macro, it's going to be very much dictated towards low mechanical top laners. So first of all, my credentials, I used to be a professional coach. I worked for a site, and they would basically just rent me out to people, and I would sit there and I would tell them how they could climb, and I had a pretty decent deal of success with those who played and took my advice, of course. So this is how to climb in League of Legends with the mechanics of a child. The first thing we're going to want to focus on is your mentality. When I was coaching, this is probably the easiest thing to fix and the worst thing a lot of players had. Something that people don't realize is that when you have to get a better mental, you see people in high elo that have bad mental, but they are generally actually good players. Us as shitters, as mechanically inept people, have to be above and beyond what they are as people. So that means being physically healthy, working out, playing routinely, hitting the gym, doing some cardio, lifting some weights, doing that maybe 3-4 times a week. It sounds silly to do, but when you feel good, when you feel clean, it will lead to you having a easier mental when you play League of Legends. Of course, not many people are going to work out specifically to get better, but if you want to get better, that's something you can do. Then it will help you greatly. Of course, not everybody can. A lot of y'all are sick out there, especially with COVID running around. So, hey, you got to do some push-ups and sit-ups on the floor. Whatever you got to do, just get your blood pumping, start moving, work out for like 20-30 minutes. Just hey, get it out there. The next thing you're going to want to do is routine play. For example, when I was first climbing to my higher elos, I would wake up, I would drink coffee or water, kind of rub my eyes, brush my teeth, all that stuff. I'd go work out, I'd do my homework, and then I'd play League of Legends, right? With this schedule in mind, I would essentially do the same thing every day, and I would make sure that I wasn't hungry, I wasn't tired, I wasn't busy. All these excuses that you make for you able to lose games, those are excuses that you make because it's essentially your own fault, right? You should never be hungry, tired, busy. Any excuses you have for your game that are within your control should never happen. People make these excuses a lot, especially when I used to coach games. We would go over a VOD and somebody would be like, oh, I was hungry here, or I was tired here, or, my home life was rough. And it's like, these are situations that you should be able to not, like, when I say you can just fix them, obviously they're not permanent fixes, but when you play the game, you are there for the game and for nothing else, so everything else should be fixed beforehand, right? If that means that you're cutting down your games per day from 10 to 6 because you have to do other stuff like regular human maintenance per day, then that's something you should do. So outside of being physically healthy, you should obviously be mentally healthy. This means you should be serious when you play a game. There's the whole for fun mentality going around. If you are trying to climb, this game is going to be a lot less fun than it was previously. When you get better and you get to a higher elo and you play with higher elo players, conquering them and beating them will be more fun, right? But you're going to have to be serious up until you get to that point. It's important to have fun. Of course, it's still a game. You don't want to just bleed yourself dry on it. But fun isn't your priority. Getting better is your priority, right? And when I say mentally healthy, I also don't mean that you can't play if you're frustrated, right? I mean, obviously, if you're about to break your fucking keyboard in half, you probably shouldn't continue. However, as long as you're not hopeless, as long as you're not getting in a queue and you're like, man, I've been on a bad streak today, like I'm probably going to lose this one too, right? Once you start feeling like that, that's when you should stop playing. You're a little upset, you're like, damn, I shouldn't have lost last game. You hop in another one. Of course, you mondo tilt the game after, you probably should hop off. But if that's not the case, you're not hopeless, you're just a little frustrated, hey, you can untilt yourself. We don't have infinite time. As much as I would love to tell everybody to, once you lose, take a day out, I can't say that. You're trying to get better quickly to some extent. Next, in terms of mentality, we're going to be looking at in-game etiquette. If you guys know a YouTuber named Sky, I don't know if he still makes content for League of Legends. However, he used to have this joke called the dick sucking theory. Basically, you're going to want to be fun and supportive and nice to your teammates all game long. Every time they do anything, every time they wipe their ass, put down a ward, take an objective, kill somebody, breathe, you're congratulating them. Hey, good job, good job. Hey, this player's nuts, mid-gap, stuff like that. Mid-gap positively, obviously. You never flame your team. Small criticism is fine, but your team's mental is paramount, right? Your mental is the only thing that you can control. However, you have a small influence on your team. If you can influence that for the good, if you can make them not want to FF, not want to AFK, all that stuff, you can influence it, right? Generally, people don't go into a lobby immediately about to int you, right? They work their way there. I get more AFKs and enters probably than the average person because I suck as a player. And if you're watching this video, you probably also suck as a player. So, hey, you better get on your hands and knees and work on your technique, okay? Because that's how you're going to have to get those players to keep playing. Another thing would be to talk shit in all chat. If you have the mental to take it, right? Hey, you're fresh in, you're hopping on, you are primed, and your opponents are not primed. Every time they mess up, their bot lane messes up, and your top lane, hey, type some shit in. Bot gap, hey, GG, boys, right? Just talk your shit, man. Obviously don't get yourself banned, don't get yourself chat restricted, don't be obnoxious, but hey, talk some shit. Get in your enemy's head and, keep boosting the morale of your team, right? Because a lot of it is mental, and a lot of people are very, very mentally weak. So if you can get them to quit, that's more LP for you, and that's faster the game goes, right? If you are shit-talking your opponents and they say open mid at 10 minutes, you pick up the Herald and you run it in, you're done by like 14, you're good to go, right? Whereas a game could have taken 23, 25, maybe even 30 minutes, depending on how hard they hold on for dear life. If they open mid and you just drop a Herald in because in part because you're all chatting, hey, that's a good move. Keep in mind though, this is a double-edged sword. You talk a little shit and you get shit on, hey, you're gonna be mondo tilted. You might not be able to play the next game if you talk too much shit and then they talk it back. So, hey, if you're getting tilted, mute them. I say that. I personally don't mute them because I could never do that. I'm way too narcissistic. I have to know what's going on. However, if you're not like me, you should definitely mute them if you start losing. So next, after mentality, that's kind of like the basics of how you should approach the game mentally and physically, obviously. The next thing you should be looking at is learning. So guys, this is one of the big milestones for how you're going to get better at this game. So the first thing you got to notice is you are a student of the game. You're seriously trying to get better out here. So that means that as a student of the game, I mean, obviously, I iterated it first. I'm going to reiterate it now. You want to have fun, but you're not a for fun player, right? You're playing to get better. So something that I would do is personally, I watch some dry and specific informational videos like Don Huop. Hey, I mean, he makes a couple jokes here and there, but sometimes, his like green wall is in the background and there's no edits and he's just sitting there talking and it's fucking rough. But hey, the information itself is great. So, you're working out, you throw on your headphones, you listen to some Don Huop in the background about how the tower targets minions, and boom, hey, you're a little bit better than you were beforehand, right? So you can fill your free time with League of Legends informational videos. So, you're working out, Don Huop's sweet voice is talking in your ear, hey, you're a student, you're studying for the game. Another thing I would say is I would avoid reviewing tape. A lot of people will talk to you about reviewing your previous games. I have actually not met anyone that's done that. I'm not saying there are people that that don't do that. Obviously, there are professional players out there that review their own tape, but they also have a professional coach. You are not a professional. Even if you know your own issues, it would be difficult for you being so close to your own situation to use a tape review properly, right? You would have to have like a professional coach with you, so it wouldn't make any sense for you to review your own tape. You probably know the issues that led you to lose that game. If you're really absolutely baffled because your team's telling you you're through and you don't think you through, obviously you can review it, but reviewing your tape as like a general practicality alone really doesn't make much sense as a single person. I wouldn't say it is a waste of time, but if it's between that and getting in more games for the day, I definitely wouldn't be reviewing. Now, something I do think is a good investment of time is reviewing your op.gg. Looking at how many champs you play, their win rates. Maybe you need to change your build, and maybe you keep catching the same opponents. If you keep queuing up, right, and you lose against a specific person, then you should stop queuing up. You should probably change the way you approach queuing in game and the way you approach champ select. So reviewing your op.gg is pretty important. You want to get your champs down to a certain number, probably around 10 max of champions you play, and you want to lower that pool even further. So something, while we're on the topic of learning, is coaching. I think professional coaching is okay. Obviously, I'm a little biased because I myself was a professional coach. I wasn't coaching teams or anything. I was coaching one-on-one with other players, whether they be high elo or low elo. I think that it is beneficial. However, a few sessions is generally not enough. Like if you're paying somebody $20 to go over a single game with you, you're probably not getting a lot. I would record and re-listen to your sessions if you end up doing that, and I would try to get multiple sessions with the same guy as you do intermittent progress. Although I would be careful because you do need to invest a decent amount of time if you're going to be doing some kind of tape review with a coach. But if you're going to be reviewing tape, you should do it with a coach because you doing it yourself is borderline a waste of time. The last thing on here is going to be covering boosting. I personally don't advocate for boosting because, it kind of negates the point of the game. I have to do it myself or I feel like I haven't done it. However, hey, don't flame me for this, boys. If you're trying to get to a higher elo faster, to get better at the game, you have to play against better players, and that will help you refine your play for how the top tier of the game is supposed to be played. Okay? To do that faster, you can get boosted. However, you would have to breathe, eat, sleep, and shit League of Legends for it to be worth it. I wouldn't suggest this generally because I think it's a waste of money, and I think that it would probably kill your interest for the game. But theoretically, on paper, could boosting to become a better player faster work? The answer is yes. People want to tell you no because they fucking hate boosters, which, hey, to some extent, I understand that. However, I'm here to give you all the facts of, how you can climb. I've seen it work, and, hey, if you're about it, it can work. Next here is going to be your schedule. So we've covered the mentality, we've covered how you're going to be learning, and this is your schedule, how often you're going to play. So you should be aiming for 3 to 8 times every single day, and you should aim to stop playing after you have lost 3 times in a row. Even if you are not super frustrated, after 3 losses in a row, it might just not be going your way. Momentum is a very real thing in this game, and you can go from 3 losses in a row to 10 losses in a row to 20 losses in a row. Right? Some great players have lost more games in a row than I thought was actually statistically possible. So stop after 3, pick up the next day. It's all good. There's no reason to absolutely tilt yourself. If it's really an issue, I would highly suggest getting a Smurf account. So my main account is 12-inch PvPiness, but my Smurf account is the real 12-inch. The reason why I had that Smurf account originally when I was climbing is because I would play games on my main, and once I lost too many, I'd hop on my Smurf to play more. Right? I wanted to play more of the game, I wanted to play it ranked, and I wanted to be competitive. However, I could not risk my main's elo because the higher my main's elo was, the higher caliber of players I played against, and the better I got the more I played on it, right? So I can't waste the LP on my main because that would make me a worse player overall in second and third order consequences. On the flip side of that, if you are on a win streak, right, I say play 3 to 8 times in a day. However, if you've just won 5 games in a row, on you're 2 games in and then you get a 5-game win streak, so game 7 you're sitting hot as fuck on some momentum, play until you lose. Just like momentum can lead people to lose more games than I would statistically think possible, momentum can lead you to win more games than I statistically think is possible. And every second that you lose is not only a second wasted, but it is 2 seconds wasted because you have to spend another second winning, right? So On the flip side of that, being able to get some more wins in the same day will lower your overall schedule for what LP you need to be, because you have to hold your LP for a certain amount of time with a certain amount of win-loss ratio in order to really become a better player. You know, of course, it's not like concrete like that, but that is a really good rule of thumb for your general performance. So when to play. Of course, we talked about scheduling. You know, you wake up, you know, you do your morning routine, you work out, you do your whatever homework or work you have for the day, and then you hop on. You know, you want to start playing probably about a couple hours after you wake up. You know, you don't want to wait too long because you want to be fresh as fuck. So, you know, little soon after you wake up, get that peak performance in, and you want to think about changing your sleep schedule to be more effective. Obviously, like, this guide is pretty intense. I would say it's pretty sweaty, pretty try hard. This is a lot of stuff I did, so overall, you know, if you want to be better faster, you know, it's not going to come without a price. So something that I personally did is when I was climbing to Masters, I would go to sleep in the middle of the day and I would wake up at 4 a.m. to be against late night queues. So late night queues are notorious in League of Legends. They are very inty, they AFK a lot, and they're very angry because they haven't slept, right? So if you are completely fresh, got a good mental, you know, you bring your good juju to your team at 4 a.m., you know, you're going to find a lot more success than when everybody's kind of chilling at like 3 in the afternoon or like 12 a.m., stuff like that. Another example would be to wake up at 6 p.m. by sleeping somewhere around 8 a.m. So you stay up all night until 8, and then you sleep, and then you wake up at like 6 p.m. or somewhere around there when people are getting off work. That's also a good place to catch weaker opponents because, you know, they're coming off work, it's been a long day, they're hopping on to play some ranked, and you beat the shit out of them, right? You come with your good mentality, you come with your good juju, you know, you get your team, you flip it on them, you all chat some shit. Hey, that's how you do it. So lastly, on the topic of scheduling, we're going to be looking at total goals. You're going to want to play around 200 games per month. This is about 6 to 7 games per day-ish. Overall, that's a lot, but again, you know, this is a guide for people that want to get better, not a guide for people who want to play casually and somehow, you know, trip and fall into a higher elo. You want to try and take around 20-minute breaks between games. Some people say 5, some people say 10, some people say 15. You can watch your favorite show, watch some League of Legends content, listen to some music, anything to just relax and keep your mind off the game. Now, keep in mind, this is not if you're hot. If you have the torch of Prometheus on you, then hey, run forward. Okay, no one's stopping you out here. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, you know, you're just your average game. Sometimes the game's a little long, sometimes a little short. Hey, just take a little break and then hop back in. You know, watch some YouTube, drink some water, go to the bathroom. You know, sit-ups, push-ups. You know, do some workout. All that good stuff is good as long as you're relaxing. And the last thing, a goal that you should have schedule-wise for League of Legends is you personally should never troll or AFK. I feel like that's kind of a given. And, you know, what I've said earlier in this video should probably mirror that. However, there is no excuse if you're trying to become better to AFK or rage quit or troll. None. You should never be doing that. And even outside of this guide, you are a shitty person. If you are like purposely ruining people's fun because you're AFKing or trolling. So next, hey, you know what you guys are here for. So this is going to be over champ select. Okay, so this is going to be covering what champs you pick and bans and dodges and all that good stuff. So when you are picking the champions that you want to play, you should pick about 3 to 5 champions that you like. You should really only play one of them while you're trying to make real progress, but 3 to 5 champs that you like should be your starting pool. These should be champions that you think are cool, have good animations, you know, stuff that you like, right? This should be the fun part, is when you choose champions that are just flashy as fuck, you know, that you enjoy. Personally, like a good example of this for me would be Urgot. Urgot is like one of the few champions that canonically just murders people, and I think his chains are some of the coolest thing in the game. I've played Urgot through thick and thin, and he has been an absolutely abhorrent champ sometimes, and it didn't matter. I still played him because I found him so cool. You know, should you play the shittiest champ humanly possible? No, but if you like it, you know, that's how you gotta play. Further on in the champ pool, you know, keep it concise, keep it small. You know, 3 to 5 is a goalpost, but it's also kind of a limit. If you change the main champs that you play, you will generally reset all the progress that you have done up until that. You know, you won't become an absolutely retarded player. Different champs obviously play differently. You need to be looking for simple but effective champions, and you need to be looking for champions that scale decently. So I'm going to give you an example of my pool of champions and how I think they would fit. So I play Urgot and Trundle. Those are probably my main two right now. I play Trundle a lot more than I play Urgot, but those are my most comfortable picks right now. Under that is going to be Pantheon, Maokai, Malphite, Yorick, Scion, Sho'gath, Thresh, and Skarner. Thresh and Skarner are obviously off-roll picks, Thresh for support, and Skarner for jungle. But the 8 that I mentioned are all very simple champs with a lot of point-click stuff or a lot of just very easy skill shots, right? These are all simple but effective champs, and they all scale pretty well. Pantheon, of course, doesn't scale very well, but he scales in terms of positioning and player skill, whereas like other champions just fall off straight, like maybe like Lee Sin or something, right? Pantheon can still find himself useful, but again, I don't play that much of him anymore, specifically because the other champs play a lot better. That's why I like Trundle so much. Obviously, you don't have to copy my pool. Whatever champions you find fun, just make sure they're simple and effective. I sound like a broken record at this point, but simple is very important. Don't be playing Zed or Yone or Yasuo or any wild ass champs. You want to pick something that's kind of like a beat stick. You're a top laner out this bitch, so hey, play like it. So next, we're gonna cover dodging and banning. You're gonna want to ban Comfort, and you're going to want to dodge Comfort. Okay, so for example, I ban Jax. Okay, champs that I would dodge, I don't always dodge them because obviously I'm a fucking retard. However, champions that I would personally dodge, if I was using my own guide currently, would be Teemo, Camille, and Malphite, right? Those are champions that I find myself having a lot of trouble into, so I would just dodge them and avoid the issue. I've been banning Jax for the last 3 years, and I have not looked back. He is by far the champ that I play the worst into, and it kind of mental booms me just seeing that champ hit the field. So if you guys have a champion like that, even if he's outside of the meta, it's pretty important that you don't play against a champ that you probably have the lowest win rate and the worst mental into, because it not only damages the game that you play with it, but your future games after you tilt yourself from even if you win that game, right, you're still tilted playing against that champ. And it's important that you save your mental because you have to get in as many games as possible. So after you're dodging Comfort, you're banning Comfort, you're going to want to dodge toxic teammates. This seems pretty obvious, but if somebody's talking shit in your lobby, you're going to have to look over, you have to think about it for a second, hit that report and lobby button, and then, hey, dodge out of it. It's 5 minutes, 30 minutes. It's a little bit of time and no MMR drop for the hassle of having to play with that player. Again, even if you win, your mental's probably fried and you're looking to play more games after that, and so that's just not an issue that you want occurring. You also want to dodge questionable teammates. The biggest offenders of this is probably going to be the autofills, the people on loss streaks, the people who are playing absolute off meta. I'm looking at like Jungle Singed, shit like that. If you see Jungle Yumi, you better get out of there. Okay, you see like mid Nunu or something weird. Hey, play with. You don't even have to play with meta specifically, but champions should belong in their roles, right? You're not crazy, you know where things should be in. And past that, make sure that if somebody's an OTP, so when you highlight everybody in the lobby and you stick them in the op.gg, make sure that if somebody's a one-trick pony, they're on their one-trick pony. If somebody types in, wow, I can't believe they banned my champ, right? And you look at it and they've got like 3,000 games on that champ, you should probably dodge. One-trick ponies are not known very well for playing other champions. So next, in lobby, when you are in lobbies, a lot of people will dodge and you'll find yourself against some of the people that you're previously in lobby with, and if you're searching them every time, you might notice that you are against a one-trick pony. So on the same coin that you would dodge somebody who's a one-trick pony, you should also ban the mains of someone who's a one-trick pony. Even if the main is bad, is a bad champion overall, they, number one, will be flustered, they'll have weak mental, and they won't know other champions very well. So it'll be a huge L for them, and you'll generally find yourself winning games that you otherwise may not have been able to win by banning an OTP. If you are in a game and you find yourself against a tilter or an AFK, you should immediately queue to try and get into a lobby against them, right? If you get in the same lobby with them, you should dodge it immediately. However, if you go against them, it should be a free win. You're looking to pick up as much LP as you can, as easily as you can, because then you can climb faster and get better faster. You should also determine optimal opponents that you do well against that you generally won't dodge against, right? So even if they're not turbo tilters, if you play against somebody that you absolutely mop the floor with, even if they're a very relaxed person, as soon as they get out of a game, you want to immediately queue up again in the hopes that you can go up against them again, right? Having a rematch against somebody you already know you're good against is going to lead to you winning more often than it will lead to you losing. Lastly is going to be the runes. This is kind of less theoretical, but in terms of the runes that you would take on most simple top laners, you should make a defensive page. So over here, we're looking at my runes page. So this is probably what your standard page on most of the champions that you play should look like. simply because you want to stay alive for as long as you can, right? So you're taking double armor or double MR. On some champions, you're taking the attack speed. On some champions, you're taking the adaptive force. If they have no CC, you can swap from Legend Tenacity to maybe like slightly magicals in the Inspiration tree, or Ravenous Hunter in the Domination tree. But you should generally try to take Grasp of the Undying. I take this on Trundle, Maokai, Malphite, Urgot, Yorick. I mean, you name it, right? The champions that can do better with Press the Attack or Conqueror, although they can do better with those keystones, Grasp of the Undying is basically laning for free. And if you're mechanically inept, laning is tough. So that is going to conclude the more theoretical aspect of it. Now we're going to go into what an actual game should look like. So immediately when you start a game, if you notice, we are running off the platform immediately. You're going to want to either invade or stack. You want to assess your CC capability, right? So we have Senna, we have Rel, we have, the slow from me, and we have Rengar, right? So us invading is probably fine. We could also stack if we wanted to. However, if you find yourself with an excess of CC, you generally want to invade, and if you find yourself with a minimum amount of CC, or someone like Yuumi, then maybe you want to stack instead, right? Bushes that you should want to stack would be this bush, and this bush. Bushes that you should want to invade, you can invade from here, right? If you're red side, you can come down and you can go to this bush, going through lane. You can invade through here. You can invade through mid. And you can also invade through dot, but this one's like pretty ooga booga, and you'd have to be pretty low elo for this to work, unless they're also stacking, and then that'd be rough. So most champions that you're looking for, you should immediately start. You take teleport pregame, and you also take corrupting pot. This means that if somebody pushes you out of lane, you can immediately teleport back, and you have a ton of value from a corrupting pot. That's something that I would highly suggest for your starting items. So we try to invade here. We see they drop a couple wards, so we know how this game is kind of going to be going by them dropping this here. And we also can note that our invade had enough pressure to make them have to drop this vision. We also get vision over here, and we just get to pressure and collect a lot because of the invade. So over here, I try to cheese. If you're blue side and you're against red side and you think they're leashing top, sitting in this bush as whatever champ you are, you can kind of use vision to get some extra damage off. So the first thing you want to do, and you're going to see me doing, is pushing the first two waves as hard as I can. Don't be shy to use your mana on it. I'm into a ranged character, so I have to play a lot differently than I normally would. But I'm just pushing it as hard as I can. So I get it to her tower, and immediately after, the thing that I do is I go over here and I go to ward his red, right? That way I know where his jungler is, and I know how I can play. So I drop the ward, and I immediately ping the question mark ping to show that Olaf is over here, so everybody knows, and I say, Olaf top, right? This is information for your entire team, and you know how you can play. Because after this, if their jungler is topside taking the red, then you know that you can't shove this in, and you have to let it shove to you. However, if this is still up, or if it's bend down, then you know they're bot side. You can call that out so your bot lane doesn't get ganked, and on top of that, you can push in yourself, right? Because early levels, champions really don't have a lot of kill pressure, especially if you have the minion advantage, right? So when I come back here and I clear out all these minions, it really doesn't matter that she's Nico, because she can't just auto me within a wave. She's going to take a ton of damage. These 3 casters probably do more than her autos. This is going to cover kind of your starting moves, and now we're going to go into early game. This is going to be over like levels 3 to 6. So as you can see, I was pushed out of lane. Something you generally want to do is you either want to run back as fast as you can, you want to save your teleport, and you want to shove as hard as you can so that you can roam out into other lanes, right? You really don't want to be top lane that much because, again, you're mechanically inept and you could die at any moment, right? So having numbers advantages, whether it's you in the jungler, you in the mid lane, you in the bot lane, all that stuff is really good because their top laner generally can't roam as hard as you can because they're not willing to. And, you have a numbers advantage. That's the whole benefit. So here, I ended up getting shoved in, and so I immediately look for a teleport bot lane. Right, so the reason why you're saving your TP and the reason why you are shoving is so you can try and teleport bot lane, and your ultimate goal is to collect the Drake, right? So if you see a warden here and you see they're shoving in, this is a good place to teleport in. So as you can see, there's a fight going down here that I'm looking at while I'm backing because, I have nothing else to do. Right, so Olaf is running in on them, and this could be catastrophic for my team. So although it would be an issue for me to go here, right, I'm going to lose plates and I'm going to lose value, my entire team would be dead if I didn't do this. And that is something you have to notice. Your economy doesn't matter anywhere near as much as your team's economy. So if you can sacrifice your own gold, and give kills and give CS and give all that stuff to your team, that's what you want to do. You are mechanically inept and you're playing simple champions that do simple things effectively, right? You're not doing champions that need a ton of gold. You know, this isn't Senna, you know, this isn't Kaisa, this isn't Rengar, right? In this game, I'm Trundle, right? I don't care how many kills I get. It's more important that I'm giving my team the support they need. So as we can see here, I didn't even get much from this, right? This was like a very mediocre roam, although it doesn't matter, right? The fact that they didn't die is enough, and, you know, we end up getting some kind of value from this. The fact that I get the kill is nice, because, of course, when I go top, you know, I'm compensated at least, but overall, having your allies get the kill is really where you want to go. We're going to speed it up a little bit here, because our next section is going to be levels 6 to 9, which is going to be early game but late laning phase. So here I'm not pushing because we don't know where Olaf is. He is on the Herald here, or he's around the Herald, but, you know, I didn't know that at the time. I just thought that he might be around topside. So here I go toward the bush and I die because I'm an idiot. However, I knew he was there and I didn't have to die. So from level 6 to 9, you should try to trade as much as you can. As you can see, I'm always trying to fight. I'm always trying to get her to burn stuff because it is important that I'm always applying pressure, right? Because I'm pushing, because I'm so aggressive, Kassadin has to come top. You know, that's pressure he's not putting mid. That's a wave he's letting crash. That's Malzahar getting to back. All this pressure I get because I just run into them and smack them all the time is something that you should be looking to emulate in your own games. You want to make pressure for your team without needing a jungler top yourself. Solo kills aren't as important as the tower damage is also. So when you're shoving, it's not necessarily shoving to get kills. Obviously, you can't dive them under tower. But you're shoving as hard as you can because you want to get as many plates as you can, right? This is obviously important for the gold. However, with Herald up, if you get this down to 2 plates and then you collect Herald, you can one-shot the tower with it, and then you're free. Then you can roam anywhere. And unlike before where you'd have to sacrifice some of your tower to go, you can push as hard as you want and then roam. You also have a lot more of the map opened up, and that just gives you a lot more freedom in order to give leads to your team. So your ultimate goal for the late laning phase is to get this tower down to 2 plates and then collect the Herald and then Herald down the tower. Of course, killing the tower is your main goal. However, that is the way you'd want to go about it. So as the game goes on, something that you should prioritize above everything else is dragons. As you can see, we skipped a little bit ahead here, and the Fire Drake is coming up. Nico has not moved because she just teleported top. However, I started walking to the dragon because the dragon is more important. Dragons should be the most important thing you're looking for, even though Herald is also really good. Past the first Herald, the next Heralds are not as good because your team really can't capitalize effectively on it. So even though Herald is very good, especially in competitive play, because people will just start ramming down towers, especially, you know, around that 16-17 minute mark. However, in solo queue, that's really not something you can trust them with, which is very ironic because you trust your team with so much in this type of play. So, you know, of course, we play for this dragon, we get this dragon, you know, we get the next few dragons. And overall, you're not going to get the dragons every time, but it's important that you put your hat in to get the dragons every time, right? So if your team's chance is like 50% of getting a Drake, with you there it's like 70%, you just want to start spamming that 70%. You know, you'll lose some games because they might kill you at the drag pit. I mean, obviously it'd be pretty hard with a numbers disadvantage, but it might happen sometimes, but it doesn't mean that you should be discouraged from the strat. The strat is very good, and it's something you should be looking to do every game. As we come into the late game, you have to take a moment and decide whether you are going to do a 4-1 or you're going to play with your team, or you're going to let one of your allies do a 4-1. So if you are weak, you want to play with your team. You might even want to death ball with your team, which is something you want to communicate with them and look for picks. If you are like kind of average with the other top laner, but you're not a great solo killer, you know, you probably could stand up to them, but you don't know, you should also play with your team, even though you'll be behind them because they're collecting solo XP. If you guys get any type of kills in your death ball, it's going to be very good for just pushing ahead in general, and whatever XP they get will be mitigated by the fact that your team's getting extra gold. If you are very ahead, you should send your team in one lane, you should go into another lane, especially if you can kill like 2 people, because it just leads so many people coming to you because you just have so much pressure on the map, and then your team can just push in. That's something you should look to do. Of course, you shouldn't try to sacrifice yourself, but if that happens, you know, if you're dragging like 2 to 3 people on the other side of the map and your team's getting a Baron or a Dragon or a tower for it, that's something you should be looking to get. And if you are doing decently, but you're a solo god, you know, let's say you're like Trundle and a Renekton or something, then, you know, go whack him, okay? You know, don't play with your team at that point. However, those aren't general situations. You know, generally if you're doing average, you want to play with your team. I mean, past this, you know, we end up winning this game, but this was just used to explain how I would play through a general game, playing with my team and for my team. So finally, we're going to cover the economy. You might have heard me talking about how you want to give your gold away, and, you know, you're forgoing CS and things like that and solo kills, and you are going to be a low economy top laner. right? My nickname in my last amateur league was actually low econ top because my CS and kills are so low every game, but I still managed to find a way to be useful. And the reason why is because of the champ pool that I selected and the way that I play them. So your economy isn't very important. You should be pushing as hard as you can. You should be roaming as much as you can. Even if you're walking from base to bot at like level 5 because you see something and you're giving up a couple blades for that, that's okay, right? You're looking to get your team ahead. Of course, you can't just absolutely bottom out. You have to still survive in your top lane, but if you can give some gold to your bot lane and stay alive in your top lane, just do the bare minimum to exist in that lane. You'll do well as the game flourishes, especially if your other lanes are smacking, right? You want to be at the point where you're sitting there, holding on for dear life top lane, but you see an enemy has been slain, double kill, triple kill, you only hear those if you are the person that set it in motion. You have to be the prime mover. And the reason for this specifically is because the only reason your gold doesn't matter is because your teammates are better than you. It's kind of a hard pill to swallow, but if you're a mechanically inept player, as I assume you are watching this video, like me, your teammates are better than you. They may not be better mentally, they may not have as good macro, they may not have as much game knowledge. However, they were born with more mechanical talent than you, and that's a tough pill to swallow. However, they are better off with the gold than you are. This is especially true if you're climbing quickly. If you are silver and you find yourself in plat, like a month or two of really grinding out games and following a guide like this, and getting coached and just analyzing your shit as hard as you possibly can, you're gonna find yourself in plat. Your mechanics are bad for silver, right? You find yourself in plat, you are really not going to be able to hold on for dear life regardless, right? So if all you can do is struggle to stay alive in those games, you are really, really, really not optimal to have the team's gold on. So you should most certainly give it to your team. Low econ top is what you should be looking for. That's going to be it for the video. My closing thoughts on this is that this is pretty good advice overall. Of course, this is designated towards top laners with no mechanics. I think that the scheduling and planning of how you can play these games out and how you can just climb elo and become better, I think they're overall good. Some of the game specific stuff is of course not applicable to like ADC or something like that. However, in terms of like the strictness with how you approach League of Legends can really be applied to all roles. However, you have to remember this guide is specifically for the mechanically inept players. This guide is really strict and really hardcore, and you have to realize that this game has to be your highest priority in order to climb quickly as a player with no mechanics. When I first started playing, I believe it was like season 3 or season 4, and I played on-hit Warwick, and I went from gold 4 to plat 1 over the course of like 2 or 3 weeks, and I had no mechanics whatsoever. I just played a one-shot build on Warwick, and I picked somebody on the map that I didn't want to be alive, and I just kept winning games because nobody knew how to deal with it, right? When I got to plat 1, I literally had no idea. They immediately changed Warwick basically as soon as I hit plat 1, and then I was kind of just treading water at that point, right? I dropped to around plat 3, but eventually I got to diamond with other champions because although I'd essentially boosted myself, I got there, right? You just have to climb the elo first, you have to play it there for a while, and after a certain amount of games, you will be at a decent threshold to be around that elo, maybe a little bit lower. But the point is your player skill doesn't rise until the players that you play against rise, and the players that you play against don't rise until your elo rises. So, climb your elo, get to be a better player. Also, I would highly suggest that you do not duo with other players. Duoing with other players is a crutch, and it is not representative of all solo duo that you're going to go up against. Unless this duo player is going to be with you the entire time, unless they are just as sweaty as you, which is highly unlikely, them quitting would, I wouldn't say it would reset your progress, but it would definitely do you dirty, and that's not something you're looking to do. You're looking to become better singularly. If you guys enjoy this type of content, be sure to drop a follow, a comment, a sub. It all helps an absolute ton. If you guys like this content, be sure to let me know, because if it's, at least moderately successful, I'll be looking forward to streaming some League of Legends on Twitch, playing some Urgot, some Trundle, all that good stuff. A lot of God-style content will be coming out, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys are watching this right now, I'm currently on Twitch in the description below playing League of Legends, so you guys should definitely come on over and say hi. Also, make sure you join the Discord in the description below. That is the best place to contact me while I'm not live, and to get updates for when I'm about to go live. Have yourselves an absolutely wonderful one, and thanks for watching.